Hey, Rising Star 2 fans, thanks for tuning in. Now that I have a Patreon, I feel obligated to try to create even more content videos, even if they're smaller little peeks behind the scenes. So that's what this video is. I want to show you some of the work that I've been doing with the map expansions like Europe, and with that I also had to make some changes to the United States. And I'm going to show you what I've been working on. Here's the, let me move it over here so my face isn't in front of it. Here's the map of Europe, texture, just the plain texture. But there's actually two other textures that work behind the scenes with this. There's the area guide, and you can see the area guide is exactly the same layout, except that instead of having a graphical look with the mountains and everything, it has the each country in the map has a different shade of gray. And the only thing that really matters is the red value. They're, red, green, and blue, RGB. The only one that matters is red, because that's the only one that I use in Unity. So I usually just make them all the same. At least in this map I did. And so let me see here. Let me switch over to something real quick. Oh, there we go. So if I point at an area, if you look up here in this area, you can see the RGB values of what I'm pointing at. So that big black area is 555. This is 125, 125, 125. So you really, again, only need to look at the R. It's 45, 85. And then in Unity, I have all these data objects that I created that are associated with these. So, for example, France is defined in there with the name France and abbreviation, and it also has the 85 specified as the tint value, so that when Unity reads this map in, it looks at the red pixel value of each pixel. And whatever tint that is, it can look it up to see what country it is, or what state, or whatever it is, based on that tint. So that's how we know what country or what state we're in for each city, and it's totally dynamic. So if you're in the city editor and you move cities around, you'll see it automatically sets the state. You don't have to do it. And that's how it's doing it. It's looking at the pixel from this texture map and looking it up from the data. Now there's a third map, and I should mention also, the color map is 4096 by 4096 pixels. That's as high as I want to go. That's a really high res texture to actually being displayed on the screen. Since this isn't actually displayed on the screen, it doesn't have to be as high. So it's 2048 by 2048. It's half the width and half the height, so 25% the size. Plus I only need to use the red pixel part of it, so when I import it into Unity, you'll see here it looks red because I'm using the R8 format. So it's basically 8 bits, which is just the red channel. And all the other channels, are the green and blue, are ignored. Now the third texture is this path guide, and it's also 2048 by 2048 and only using the red pixel. And what this is what I use for pathfinding to get around big waterways, inlets, mostly these bays, and also in between islands and mainland, like England and France and Ireland. Sorry, Iceland, you're too far out there. Nobody's taking a ferry to you. So what this is it's mostly the coastlines. You can see have more detail, because those are what's most important to determine the how to get around it. And then the interiors are these big chunky blocks that aren't as critical for finding a way around things. And the way it works is, let's say you're in a city that's right here, maybe like Dusseldorf, Germany or something. and you want to go to, well, I forgot some of the city names, but somewhere up here in Sweden. So it does the pathfinding in it, and it checks each node along the way to see which way is the fastest way to get there, and it also checks the ferry lines. So it would check over here because there's a ferry over here, and whatever it determines is the shortest route with all those nodes added up together, that's the path that it takes. And there isn't really, the pathfinding code that I use, it doesn't really do pathfinding because there isn't really pathfinding in this game. What it is the pathfinding is used just to determine the most appropriate route to get somewhere, and then adds up the mileage of each segment on that route to determine how many miles it is to get there. So in other words, let's imagine there are no ferries. Well, as a matter of fact, let's go to the US and Canada one. Oh, here we go. Path guide. This one's simpler because we really mainly just had to get the detailed path around the Great Lakes, and I didn't worry too much about these because there's not a lot of cities up here. But in Lake Michigan, generally, I mean, there is a ferry that goes across here, but it's very seasonal. It's only open in the summer, and most people don't take it. I mean, I took it once just for the sake of taking it. I'm from Michigan originally, and I wanted to take a boat ride all the way across the lake, so I did. But usually when I go into Milwaukee, I would drive around Lake Michigan like this and come up here. That's where most people. So in the game, I don't have the ferry service for Lake Michigan. I may add it later. I don't know. It's a seasonal thing, and I'm not sure what the seasons are like for ferries in Europe, or if they go year round. I'm not sure. But anyway, my point that I'm getting off track on, if you start in Grand Rapids, Michigan, which is about here, and you want to go to Milwaukee, which is somewhere over here, in the current version of the game that you have right now, it just goes as the crow flies. If you looked at the mileage between those, it's only like what, 100, 150 miles, something like that. And that is way shorter than it would be if you actually drove around. So when a tour is being booked by the manager and it's looking for the next closest city to book something, if you start somewhere in Michigan, it's jumping all around, jumping back and forth over the lakes, and that's not really how it would work. With the new version, with the pathfinding and everything, it would know that, oh, okay, I have to go down here first, go down here, then up here, and add up the mileage to get around it. So it's less likely that you're going to jump straight from Grand Rapids to Milwaukee or Green Bay, which is up here, to do gigs. You would most likely come down here, do something down here, go around Chicago, and so on. So the tour path should look a little bit more realistic. Anyway, so that's what I'm working on right now, and it's coming along well. I still need to integrate the airplane connections. So that's another thing. That probably won't be automatic. The ferry routes are like basically treated like ground transportation, where they're just automatic. Mileage is added and you can just go there. But the flights, I think you're going to have to specifically say, I want to fly from this city to this city. So you'll have to first manually go to a city that has an airport, and then fly to another city with an airport. Even if it's on the same map, say you want to go from Dublin to, I don't know, Moscow or something, because they're really far away from each other, and it would be faster to fly instead of driving. So that would be the case. Anyway, thanks for tuning in. Hope you guys enjoyed this little sneak peek behind the curtain, and I'll talk to you next time. Have a good one.